Welcome everyone to interview number 11 here at OSU Improvement Month. And joining me today is Jordan the Bear. JTB, what is going on?
Good morning, my friends. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having a lovely day, and I hope you're having a beautiful day, my friends. Stoked to be here.
Oh, it's
Stoked to
damn.
chat with you again. It's been a while, so
It has been way too long. Oh my god. So, just as a quick introduction, in case anyone's not familiar with you, could you just give a brief intro who you are in the community and what people probably know you for?
yes, I've been a bit inactive recently, but I was a two-digit, mostly aim, one-trick kind of player for Australia. I played in the OWC a couple times in I think 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. So I had a pretty decent run there. But most people know me for Hidden Hard Rock, Hidden in general, and I was pretty notorious back in the day for hating streams and being like almost Badoo level of stream player. But didn't quite manage to peak like Badoo did. Got to like I think rank 60 or something, but was pretty overrated the whole time. But I'm glad because I'm glad I was pretty decent spot in the community. I think a lot of people knew me, and I was always stoked to have a Reddit post and stuff like that. So very humble about where I ended up in the community after these years. But my time is now over. Everyone's a freak now. So looking back, I was never even good.
Oh
Everyone
no.
else is just so good now. So that is me, Hidden Hard Rock, aim olden time freak. But yes,
I'm
yes,
curious
sir.
your sort of upbringing as an OC player, if that makes sense. Like, what were your like earlier days like? How'd you get into the game, and like what made you gravitate so much towards aim maps?
That's an awesome question. Let's see. Well, I was if you grew up in 2015, 2016, I was just one of those. Everyone played Setting Sail. Everyone played I'm Home or whatever. All those DT like 200 PP maps. Um, but I think my start to the game was OWC 2015. That was the first OSU I'd ever seen or watched, and I watched it in school. My last year of high school. My mate introduced it to me, and I came across on Twitch. I don't know. Google kind of just does that, where it just knows what you're talking about. So I hadn't even looked it up or anything. Um, and I barely ever watched Twitch, but I watched the OSU World Cup 2015 Grand Finals, China versus USA. That was the first thing in OSU, and it was the most nuts match I'd ever seen. It was so cooked, and I was like, dude, I'm getting on this shit, man. That is nuts. So I think right after that, after I finished school, I was in New Zealand for a month, and I kind of didn't have internet there, so I only played for the first month of OSU, the OWC 2015 map pool,
Oh,
like the normal and hard diffs. That's kind of what I played for the first month of playing. I just go through all the easy, normal, and hard diffs of that, and then add mods. So I'd pass one of them no mod, then I'd try and pass it with hidden, and I'd try and pass it with hard rock was way too hard, obviously, but the easier ones
right.
I'd maybe get through on hard rock. But that was my start to the game, and then what did I do? What did I do? I propelled to anime openings. That's when I started watching anime. Going nuts on anime openings, like fuck it, the Plastic Memories map back in the day was nuts.
Oh, yep.
Unravel, that was so good. That Parasite map, um, all that stuff, and it hidden kind of stuck after I'd played like at the start of the game. Hidden just kind of stuck with me because if you play easy and normal diffs with hidden, it's like fucking what AR 5. I don't even know, but it was
Yep.
it was way too low. So when it kind of went up in difficulty, hidden just got easier and easier. So um, but then gravitated towards. I was introduced to Tillerino,
Oh dear. Here we
um,
go.
and that's when the low AC DT hidden arc started, and that's how I improved the most. I think is that era of playing low AC DT farm maps back in the day is when I shot up fast and came up on the radar of most of the Australians, and that's I think it was about 2016 OWC where I was starting to really get good, and I was like, man, I might make OWC, but there was never a chance of making OWC that year. because I was just a DT farmer. And I was like, dude, my rank is so high, dude. What? Why didn't I make OWC? Very out of touch with the community. Obviously, yeah, I was never making it, but I was mad that I didn't make it, so I played more. When did Hidden Hard Rock start? When did I start playing Hard Rock? It would have been. It would have been. I reckon it was. Do you remember that map? Can you understand me?
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
with
Yeah.
R with a question mark.
Yeah,
When
I
that
do.
started getting hard to. When that started getting hard to single tap, because I'd never alternated because I think I forgot to mention that when I started playing the game for the first part, like I think I got to maybe was it 20k without realizing there was a second button.
Ah.
So I just single. I was always so impressed by all the top players on leaderboards and stuff because I thought they just single tapped triples and streams. I was like, holy fuck, how are these people so fast? Are they cheating? Um, but then yeah, it was my mate Prozel that introduced. He was like, dude, you can use the second button. I'm like, and it blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. But it was too late. I was too arse.
Oh
I was too
no.
arse at streaming and too arse at triples, and it came a bit later, but um, when stuff started getting way too hard for me to single tap on a membrane keyboard, I kind of just went to aim and hidden hard rock, and that's really where I put my name on the board. Is those like extra diff hidden hard rock? I'd never play lower diffs. It was like a vow of mine to never play lower diffs in diff sets. I'd just play the top diff with hidden hard rock and be like, yeah, I only play high star rating maps. I'm a beast. Um, None of that low speed and stuff like that. So that was kind of my introduction to OSU. I forgot what the question was. I just talked for so long. Hope that covered it, all right.
No,
But that
I
was
think
that was my introduction to the game.
yeah, I think that covers it pretty well. So how is that process of like realizing how to actually play those triples? I mean, actually, because I'm sure even like some 3 stars and 4 stars do have triples and just like short bursts in them. How was that experience like at first when you were just only using one key, and then like how was it needing to relearn, like sort of like shift your entire perspective of the game?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was trash. I was trash back then still, and all the maps were, they weren't too that you didn't really need unless it was like what's that stream map with the purple background. Really old. Oh, someone Emrek DT'd it and it was top diff and it was like it was worth nothing. Tower of Heaven. It was Tower of Heaven.
Oh
That's
yeah.
it. That was like the only stream map I really had, and I was like, dude, I can't even get close to playing this. But other maps other than like that, you didn't really need single tapping triples. You kind of figured it out. It was just it's just on a
Yeah.
membrane. You just bang it 3 times. Um, but streams I just never played. But I don't really remember. It was a long time ago. Um,
Oh.
but I still think I have some replays of me where I do single tap triples and I try single tapping streams and obviously just end up missing and having 50s on them. So that era didn't last too long, but ranking up at that time wasn't as hard as it is now. So
That's true. Do you feel
yeah, it
like
wasn't
that's
that long of a lasting era. Sorry.
is no, you're good. Is that kind of why you feel like you gravitated to AIM maps because they kind of didn't have streams in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like
It goes without question. Yeah.
even after you've realized that you could use a second button, it's like, well, these are already the maps that I'm playing. Was that basically how it went?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Because my start was late on. It still took me so long to comprehend triples and streams with a second finger. It was useless. All my strength was just in my one finger. Um, and it was just a late start to it. I think I eventually figured it out, but
Right.
definitely in the core of playing, gravitated heavily towards not doing it because I was always a little bit worse at stream maps, and they're never as enjoyable as like playing a more high skill cap map that's just aim.
So, how did you go from that skill set to then eventually making the World Cup team and kind of diversifying your skill set enough to be competitive in the World Cup?
Who was it? I finally started speaking to other people in the Australian community. I got added to Grandy Senpai's Discord. Bless his soul. Because they had that Discord bot where they tracked the top 100 Australian players and like all the scores they were setting.
Oh yeah.
It was one of those Discord bots that tracked all the scores. And after I was setting like 400s and 450 PP plays in there, it was like, dude, and started raising up the leaderboard. I got added to that. And what happened? I got invited. I said as a joke that I'd join them for a tournament because I was obviously completely useless at everything that wasn't AIM. But I really enjoyed AR8 Hidden in the tournament. Like I'd never really gone back to it, but I loved AR8 Hidden for some reason.
Oh,
It was
interesting.
I was really bad at it, but it was really fun. For some reason, so that kind of just like thrived me on getting better at that, and then all of Hidden kind of just got easier, and Hard Rock is just Hidden Hard Rock without Hidden, so it eventually got decent and stuff, and it just progressed to getting good enough, I guess, to make the OWC team. I think I was the worst player on the first OWC team I played, but it got there and it opened the door.
Oh, what year was that in that you played for the first time?
2018,
Ah.
I think. Yeah, 2018.
So there's a couple questions. I think people have a couple, I guess, just thoughts in general when it comes to improving aim. So I want to first ask about Relax mod. Do you have any thoughts on how playing Relax affects your aim, or if it can improve your aim in any way?
I never played it. I never played it ever until like I reckon I played like 6 maps of Relax until 2019. I seriously I know people do get really good at that, but it's the sync. I can never really get go from Relax maps nowadays to playing without Relax because it's entirely a sync thing with A. It's not really it doesn't correlate to normal OSU that much for me at all. Relax is like a completely different game. It's not even close to having to get to note and then sync your tapping with it.
Yep.
So I feel like Relax players will always leave notes too early or too late with their tapping, and that's something I've never wanted to deal with. Having that as a problem, especially with how much hidden I play, if that became a problem for me, um, I'd get so frustrated because on those days where I was tapping way too late because I'm too slow or tapping too early, and I'd see that I was on the note, I'd just be like, dude, how am I so bad? I get so mad at that. So not really my thing. Um, I do have a lot of things that I did to improve my aim that weren't Relax, but yeah, Relax was not it.
That description, that's probably the best description of the Relax mod and how it relates to aim that I've probably ever heard. I think describing it as a
Oh, that's
different
awesome.
game, yeah, describing it as a completely different game is, I think, a really good way to put it. So you mentioned that there were other, I guess, quote unquote strategies that you used to improve aim. Is there anything specific? I know earlier on you said it was mostly just pushing with higher PP scores and going like low ACDT with farm maps, but aside from that, like as you progress, were there any different strategies you used to really push your aim to the next level?
Yes, I've been very excited to do like an interview or something because this is something that I find I haven't met someone that actually does this as well as me. Um, because at some point when I was getting better, I would get so frustrated because I'd be playing different. I used to play a lot of League. Back in high school, after high school, I'd play. What else did I play? I never really played like shooters or anything. Um, so I never really had a need to move my tablet after like OSU sessions. Once OSU became my main game, um, I just play a lot of OSU and leave my tablet in the same spot. So I really think that what got my aim really good, really fast was my consistency of my setup. Because once I started committing more and more of my setup to the exact same state as what it was before, it really showed because it's all at the end of the day, it's all muscle memory for aim. Aim is all muscle memory of your area. And I saw a post that GN did the other day where he used like an area randomizer, and
Oh
that blew
yeah.
my fucking mind. I was like, what? If you got good with an area randomizer, you'd be a fucking freak if you just if the day you stopped using it. But for what I did when I was growing up playing OSU was I had my tablet taped down to the mouse pad. Never moved my table, never moved my monitors, never moved my tablet from the mouse pad. My mouse would always sit to the side or on top of the tablet. And the last thing that was very important for me that no one else I've ever seen done is I never moved my chair. I never, maybe 2 years, I didn't move my chair from the indents in my carpet at all. It was stationed in a way where I wouldn't move it to get up. The wheels would stay in their little dents in the carpet and it wouldn't move. So I would go back and sit down in the exact same position as I would as the last session for a whole 2 years. And my aim got so good so quickly because of that. And I think I blame it all entirely on the consistency of my setup.
That sounds crazy. So I think the only other variable I'm interested. So you had like a chair with wheels. You could like spin it around to get in and out. I assume.
Yeah, yeah, I spin it out. So I'd spin and get out. I'd spin and
Right.
stuff like that.
Did you have like armrests? Were they like low enough to go under your desk, or like what exactly?
Uh, they don't quite meet my desk. My I did change chairs a few times and I moved house a few times and that fucked me up for months.
Oh no.
Every time I did it, so I'd get so mad because when I was moving, my parents moved like a couple times during my OSU career, and I always like, dude, imagine I never moved that first time. I'd be such a freak. But no, my chair it sits a little bit further back. I play with my tablet like right up to the edge of my table. Same with my keyboard, and I use my elbows sit on my armrests. That's kind of how my hands and stuff sit. So my wrist sits on the corner of the table onto the
Oh.
tablet, so it sits in that exact finite spot permanently. Obviously, not anymore nowadays because I can't be asked. But that's why I'm not good anymore.
Oh my.
I think so. That's why I'm washed because I can't be bothered to commit my setup entirely to that.
I see. I'm curious how that setup came to be in the first place. Like, was there a phase of experimenting with like different hand positions and tablet positions, or did you just kind of pick whatever you wanted and just kind of stuck with it?
Um, first of all, I never changed my area. That is one of the things that people do a lot, but I didn't know how to do for the first like 2 years. Because I had that old Wacom drivers that I just didn't fuck with it at all, and I didn't put in specific numbers. I kind of just put in like I kind of just drew a perfect aspect, or I drew a square on the tablet and put in the perfect aspect ratio, and then left it like that. So it's been like that ever since. Um, but yes, I think I was just getting frustrated. Where I'd move my shit around a bunch, and then something would stick, and then once it stuck, it I was like, there was always the temptation to move the tablet over or move something over a little bit because I'm always over aiming the left or always top left corner, yada yada. But it's if I don't know, I never really did it because I found that the commitment and the payoff for just not moving it and getting used to that over aim on this certain side was always in the long run better than constantly changing area and changing um, where your stuff sits. So once I found that chair position where I was like, it's comfy, which wasn't hard because I have a very small area. Um, it kind of just stayed there and got better.
So basically, just sticking with whatever feels comfortable and just kind of not really brute forcing, but getting better at certain corners or certain angles by just kind of grinding instead of feeling like you can circumvent needing to do that practice by just finding the perfect area, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what worked for me, and different things work for everyone. But the consistency of my area and the consistency of my setup, even though you learn to get better at those weak spots. You learn to, you know, your muscle memory will always kick in after a month of playing with this overshooting on the left. After a month of playing, your hand's going to learn to always overshoot on the left a little bit to make up for it. You know?
Right, right. So it seems pretty clear, sort of your beginnings and how aim kind of became the skill set that you gravitated towards.
Mm.
So, as you started playing tournaments, I specifically want to ask, like, how do you practice skill sets that you don't particularly enjoy?
Oh, that's a good question. So what is it? No mod twos. Oh, don't get me started on the no mod twos, dude. I hated practicing no mod twos and no mod here as well because I'm
No matter what,
huge
you
hidden
cut
one
out
trick.
a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Um, don't get me started on no mod twos and the no mods because holy, I hated playing no mod. I was so mad when I had to. I was so mad I couldn't play hidden hard rock in tournaments and DT hidden in tournaments because oh, it was the worst. I hated seeing the. I don't read by approach circles at all, so it was always so frustrating. Especially no mod one. With how good I got at no mod ones, it's funny with how much I hated them without hidden. It's strange. It's very strange. But practicing. Let's see. Practicing. Well, I never really got too good at the stuff that I was very bad at. That's why I was a big one trick. Um, like with say hit like normal meta hidden threes and meta hard rock threes, where um, it's like heavy alt style hard rock and heavy alt style hidden these days. It's not really um, you can be good at. I think you can be good at hidden and good at hard rock nowadays, and still not be able to play hidden three and hard rock three. Um, so what's the? I don't know about the what's the advice I'd give for that. Because I could only play hard rock threes and like the alt style hard rocks because I I was a single tap one trick demon that was so fast at single tapping back in the day that it made up for my lack in alting, not with ACK obviously, but with being a complete combo player one trick. Um, I think there's a certain point where you can get to that you can kind of make up for your shortcomings um, in specific like skill sets like no mod twos and stuff. If you I can't hold a stream um, to save the life of me, but I played a lot of those maps or played maps similar to no mod twos that weren't no mod two style, um, and I could burst streams. So I'd get through all the earlier stage no mod twos and with ease because it was never really long. It was lower BPM.
Right.
But once it got to late stage, I was always just complete garbage outscaled. Um, but I don't know. I'm not sure what the advice I'd give for that is
I mean,
because yeah, sorry.
it kind of seems like you were learning those skills almost by necessity by how many tournaments you were
Yeah,
playing.
it was. It was entirely by necessity. If I had a choice, I would never have been playing those maps other than ARA hidden, just because hidden was so fun to me. Um, but all those other skills, it was definitely just because I had to, and because I played so many tournaments and wasted all my weekends playing in solo and team tournaments with the boys. You just kind of played them and practiced map pools by necessity, and in turn got a little bit better at all those skills. Um, even though like no mod threes and no mod fours, I'm a complete. At the end of the day, look simplifying those maps into if you can single tap it, it's just an aim map with that's very fast that I just have to keep up with. Simplifying a no mod four, it's just sliders that are it's just jumps that are all sliders, you know? So
Right.
if I thought about it like that and it was like, why wouldn't I be able to aim this? So my act was always bad, but I could combo them. And that's all that really mattered with my aim. So
That's actually big brain, sort of like seeing all these different types of maps as like it's basically just the same like core concept if you dig deep into it.
yeah, it's all aim at the end of the day. All these maps are aim at the end of the day. It's just how complicated it is on the other hand.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
if yeah, just brute forcing single tapping for me until RSI and stuff kicked in. Now obviously not anymore, but
Oh no.
that was how.
What was
That
your
was how.
what are some mistakes you feel like you made that you want to make sure other people don't follow in your footsteps there?
Mistakes. Definitely not sorting out. I stream. finger control. It's all finger control because I think there's three main concepts. It's aim in one hand and then it's finger control in the other. If you can control your fingers at such high BPMs, like Red Pixel now, where he can just like play all these fucked finger control speed maps because he has complete control of his alternating. It's all finger control. I used to play a lot with Coralac, and Coralac would try and get me to sit in these multis with a custom map he made of it was literally just 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and he'd force me to alternate on these maps. But I just never could. I was like, dude, I'm not playing this dog shit. I'm not. Why would I ever improve at something I'm bad at when I could just have fun and play at something I'm good at? So you have to commit. Once you're really good at something, if you want to be an all rounder, you have to commit to the other hand. You need to play with both hands. Because finger control is something I never master. I still can't alternate. I still can't do any of that. Streams, I'll never have problems with stamina on streams. I had the stamina. I just my fingers would just fumble because I never I still can't alternate perfectly to this day without one of my fingers like jittering or stuff like that. It's
Oh,
I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. You've got to master that alternating skill as long as well as the skill of aim in the other hand. And those are the two key concepts I see the game as. And I was just never good at one. I just played the other.
I want to go back to what you mentioned about weekends and tournaments. Kind of just, what are your thoughts on, I guess, your experience with tournaments as a whole, like how they're like the time-consuming aspect, and just kind of getting to play with all these different people. Just kind of reflecting on your tournament journey as a whole.
um, let's do tournaments was so fun. Tournaments are so fun when you're playing with friends. I think there was that super team era where everyone would just play with the fucked super team, but Australia would always play with Australia because we were on the most dog shit time zone known to man. Um, so when I played with them, it was always fun because we get a decent time. We'd actually get the time to practice. But when these bigger like these solo tournaments came around, I started to hate playing them. Um, but it's I don't know. It's so fun. They were so fun. But they're very time consuming. Tournaments Playing two tournaments at once takes up an entire weekend. Like it's fucked. You have to. It's so much effort during the week to practice a map pool to get to the point where you're comfortable with, and then also play on the weekend. Um, for that hour, you have to warm up for an hour. You have to play in that lobby for at least 45 minutes. There's the rolling, there's the warm ups, there's sitting in the lobby. That I find I never played exactly how I wanted in a tournament. Um, I'd always underperform, and that was the worst part of tournaments for me for like the first maybe year, 2 years. But once you get past that, where you're like, oh, where you just don't care if you feed. Like once you stop caring about feeding in tournaments, like man, I'm not living up to my full potential, man. I'm so disappointed in myself. I'm just like, dude, I love feeding my teammates. I love inting the boys, dude, because fuck them and fuck this tournament. That's kind of where I got to the point in tournaments where it was always fun when I popped off, but it was even funner when I got 200k on Nomad One.
Oh my god.
Um, but I'll always look back and be like, damn, tournaments were amazing because of all the people I met. I had such a privilege to be in a position where I could message all the top players, all the famous players at the time. But like, man, yo, are you trying to do it? Are you trying to team up with me in this tournament, dude? Like, yo, let's run it. So I got to play with a lot of the people that I really wanted to play with at least once. So it was very fulfilling for me in that aspect where I got to best tournament players in the world. At the time, Cookeasy, Apraxia, Rafis, Whitecat, Emrek. I've played with all of them at one point. I've played with literally every single one of those players in at least one tournament and just talked shit with them. It's especially like players like Apraxia. I'm so glad I met players like Apraxia because he is the funniest motherfucker. And I met him through Sweegie, like that the random tournament, the
Yeah.
RNG where you're placed in a random tournament. That tournament was so fun because I was dog shit, but I'd meet players that were so good, and I just get to int them and ruin their tournament because they probably cared way more than me, you know. So
Oh,
it was so good.
oh my god. I want to dedicate a small section of this interview to Praxia. Can you elaborate on that guy a little bit, since he's not here to refute
Oh,
anything you
absolutely.
say?
He's so trash. He was overrated dog shit, dude. He complete garbage play, you know. But he's a beautiful person, absolutely beautiful person. I met him in Sweegie, and I don't know why we blossomed after that point where I was just always in his stream, and then he'd join our Discord. He was always in our Discord, and we played a lot of tournaments with Dummy. It was me, him, and Dummy in a lot of tournaments because they'd handle the speed. Um, and I benched so many tournaments because those two would just pick all the speed maps, and I just be chilling. I just got to kick back. I always appreciated him for that, for carrying me in them. But um, I always loved getting to grill him for not being able to FC a 400 pp aim map. You know. And there's so many there's so many like Twitch clips of him. Um, in the he was such a fun personality for OSU. He was such a funny guy with all his garbage takes and all the unfortunate stuff that happened to him. You know, it was great. He was great. Um,
That's
yeah,
funny.
I met all the Americans through him. All that. All you know, there was a point where all USA was dominating OWC. So I through him, I eventually got to play with a lot of those players as well, and it was awesome.
Ah, that's true. Yeah, you were playing Rubber Conquest for a little bit in like early 2019.
I think I did play in a maybe one or two. I think I played in one Rubber Conquest team. I don't remember how we did, um, or what tournament it was at all. But I
I,
remember being in the VC.
uh,
Um,
that's funny. Uh, I'm curious about going back to like switching. Like you said, you moved a couple times and needing to
yeah.
adapt back to that setup for like sometimes months before you really felt comfortable again. Are there any tips you learned about adapting to your setup? Because I'm sure some players might resonate with that a lot. Is there anything you've learned about adapting after like not being used to your setup after it gets switched around?
Yeah. When I had to move, I think the first time I had to move, I moved, and then I was in a tournament grand final, and I obviously just fed it. We still won because I was playing with the legendary Silver 15. And he was a freak show back then, so we still won that, even though I played like garbage. But there's always the frustration when you have to change something when you don't want to change it, or when you need to move something, um, and you're relocated. Or I used to get so mad when my mum would come in the room and clean it, and my tablet would be somewhere else, and my chair would be moved,
Oh
and I'd be like,
no.
"For fuck's sake, dude, are you kidding?" And I just obviously feed all the tournaments that weekend. But yeah, no, it's getting past the frustration, I feel, because you will never play. For me, especially, I know a lot of people are really good at this, where they can just change their area every two maps and stuff. But for me, it was always like once I got past being angry and kind of just enjoying getting better again. I think it's very important to be in that mindset where you enjoy kind of building up your skill again, is that's when after like a week of that, there's always it's like you'll play bad, then you'll play decent, you'll be like, oh, it's not too bad, it's getting there, and then you'll play bad again, and you'll be like, man, this is trash, and then you'll go back slowly over time to getting improving, and be like, man, start to set scores. Well, when I one of the best pieces of advice I think for when something like that happens, or when you need to have a huge break, start from the ground up again, is it's all mental. It's all FCing maps. If you start FCing 300 pp maps, start FCing 400. So I think I cut out there.
No,
Once you
you're good.
start FCing maps instead of there's always this point where I'm trying to play the maps that I was playing before my break or before my move, and I'd obviously just not be as good at all. Um, and I'd just choke. You get more nervous, I find, when you've just relocated or just changed something. You get more nervous because, oh, this is the comeback score. I'm finally back, dude. And I just get more nervous on um, scores that are like, but not even in my top plays or not even actually that special. But it's a big move for you because you're coming back after a hiatus or a move. It gives you that confidence again. So I think FCing maps instead of playing the ones that you were trying to FC before you moved it instills that confidence in you before you try and muster up to the big guns that you were trying to FC before.
Uh,
I think is the best way. I the best advice I'd give for that. I think.
yeah, that actually makes sense. Sort of. So, kind of knocking it down a couple stars and building back up that consistency.
Yeah, FCing is such a big thing for the mental. If you're instant like choking maps is good and all, but it doesn't do the same as FCing them once you're confidently FCing maps a little easier than what you were doing. You'll start to choke your the scores you were once getting again, and then obviously choke them a few times. You're bound to FC. So that's my best advice, I think.
Yeah. Are there any strategies you have for keeping your focus and also controlling your nerves? Are those like two separate things? I guess you can touch on those separately, focus and nerve control.
Ooh. Good question. I think they are separate, to be honest. I think hyper focus can create nerves, but I don't think they're interlocked. Like you'll be hyper focused on seeing one of your best scores, and then you realize you're on one of your best scores, and that's when the focus drops and you start to really get nervous. But I think when I played the best is when I was obviously I think focus is one of the most important things in the game. Um, Focusing on however you read every note, going from one note to the next, focusing on where your cursor is at all times, keeping everything in check is very important. Um, but with nerves, it's it's almost impossible to keep your focus because there's that thought in the back of your head that's like, oh, do not fuck this up, you know. Um, so it's like, how do I put this hard word? Uh,
Do you have
Mike,
strategies? Oh, you can go.
yeah, go.
So do you have strategies for, I guess, maintaining your focus or like even just your warm up during, especially on the day of a tournament? Is there anything you do to really make sure that you're playing at your best? Like, is there even the night before, like the way that you sleep? I know Australian time zones can be really tricky. You're playing at like 2, 3, 4 a.m. sometimes. But are there
Yeah,
any ways that you would prepare yourself either the night before or the day of the match?
I'll always come back to this whatever it is in life. Where if it was like an exam I had the next day or something super important, the most important thing was always a good night's sleep before. Um, Especially for tournaments, which is why I hated playing it at late times because I loved waking up and playing. I loved waking up after a good night's sleep, jumping on OSU, and my brain was just there. It was just active. But that's one of the hard. That's why it's so hard. I feel to always play at your best in OSU is because sleeping is complete bullshit. And it's impossible to get a good night's sleep for someone like me, um, who sometimes just sleeps like 4 hours and it just makes no sense. And you have to have a good sleep the next day. And it's like, okay, it's an OSU day. Oh, it's not an OSU day today because I slept 3 hours. Um, I'd kind of play it like that, and I kind of knew trying to prepare for a tournament. I'd try and go as tired as I can that day before, wake up, and I don't endorse this anymore. Um, but I used to work the night. I used to work the nights like not as a stripper or anything, But as like a service station attendant, I'd work the 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. So all those late, for a point in my tournament career, I'd always prefer the late ones because my sleeping schedule was completely fucked anyway. Um, where I'd have to sleep during the day.
Oh, like during
But
the weekdays?
it's it, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
But it was sleep. What else is there? It's sleep. Um, well, how do you maintain focus? Sleep, and I would always turn off my other monitors. It's all distractions. Um, Distractions are tragic. So having your phone on the table, I'd always turn my second monitor off. I'd always make sure nothing is going to interrupt this whole OSU session. So you could always just fly from one map to the next, to the next, to the next. I'd always get warm. I'd always warm up a lot better when Discord wasn't open, and I wasn't checking messages between every map. I hated streaming. There was one point I hated playing on stream because it's so distracting, and it has to be distracting
Yeah.
because it's the nature of streaming. But I hated streaming because I loved just playing. Um, I loved just playing. I just played, and that's all it was. I never joined the Discord call for OWC or tournaments or I'd stay deafened until the match actually started because playing map into map, it's that constant playing instead of a break, map break, map break, map break. Playing consistently going into a tournament, I think you'll play more consistent.
What would you usually do between maps during a match if you're benched? Is there anything specific you do to try to make sure you don't drop your focus there?
First and foremost, I'd make sure I complained to my team that I was sitting in the lobby, stone cold. It's making sure the ref made sure he knew he was wasting my time, and all that stuff first and foremost. And then I'd always, as soon as a map finished, you could go back to like any of the OWC VODs and see that me and Monk Yatso would always just insta leave. That was something you weren't supposed to do in
Oh
OWC because
yeah.
like it took the score off the screen. But I'd always, dude, fuck that, dude. I'm insta leaving, jumping into a map, dude. Um, I'd hate it. I loved playing for fun in team tournaments, but OWC was so hard um, with that because there's always that uncertainty where you have to have those discussions and for like what you're picking next, what you're banning, stuff like that, and you can't really do that while
Oh.
playing at the level you want. It feels so that hour of warm up before a tournament was so important that it was uninterrupted, and I was uh, making sure my consistency was as strong as possible before because in a match you're never going to have that. You will never, unless it's a 1v1 and you're banging out picks like there's no tomorrow. In team tournament environments, that's something you have to get used to, um, and just play more tournaments to get used to because it's something. Sitting in the lobby is something you have to actually do and think about your picks and think about all that stuff. Strategy is very important in tournaments, and so is staying warm. And that's an impossible scale to balance. I feel so. It's just play more. Yeah, I'd say play more, bro.
Someone asked about mentality specifically in tournaments. So they said, what is the mentality you have before or during tournament matches? And they said, do things such as the player you're up against affect you, etc.?
Good question. Yes, I think I'd always play better if I knew the other person was way worse than me. I always struggled going up against top players, and it was such an achievement for me when I beat top players, which never happened in 1v1s. I was the worst 1v1 player of all time, always overrated in 1v1s. I'll let everyone know that. I'm a huge team tournament one trick because I am a one trick. Um, but team tournaments, it's never really a big deal because if you're playing well or if you're playing bad, it's always going to carry over. And I think the first map in a tournament is I'd put so much pressure on myself for the first map of a tournament because I always went in with the mindset of the first map is how I'm going to play for the rest of the tournament. So if I
Oh.
fed that, I was like, oh, this is fucking over.
Oh
Team,
no.
you're going to have to carry me, boys, because get used to this, you know? But if,
Oh.
if if I went in with all that pressure on myself to FC the first map, and in OWC and a lot of the team tournaments, you'll always start off with a lot of easier map pools, and it was so important in the easier map pools and on the easier picks um, that they'd come first. One of the least favorite things I like to do was first picking 6.5. I hated first picking 6.5 because that first map is so important, and I put so much pressure on it, and I would never FC it because I'm just shaking like a motherfucker by the end of the map because I'm on a 50 millimeter area. Like it's just not meant to be in the first map. So I'd always leave that. Uh, Make sure you pick I'd always pick a high CS map where shakes don't matter. If you're playing good, shakes won't matter. Um, and if you're going into the end of a map FCing, you'll always. I feel like even though you're nervous, you'll actively try and focus as much as you can.
Yeah.
Um, in a tournament environment where there's so much pressure on the line, if you get past that first half of the map, it's always good for the mental. It's the first half of the first map, I think. Making sure you're ready for it and FCing it was one of the best tips I can give out. I think,
Yeah, that like
but
momentum is seems like
yeah,
it's really, really
momentum. That's
important.
it.
Would you say okay, so you're definitely someone who prefers picking first in matches?
Um, or I don't know. I did like first picking, but I loved beating the opponent on their first pick because I kind of had that advantage where I was the CS 6.5 player, so no one picked the Hard Rock one or the aim into me. It was
Oh.
always something that they were better than me at, that they had to perform better than me at to win because it's not my forte, but I can still play at a high level in a lot of maps. So I never really minded. Because if they pick the first map, they they FC it, it's like, dude, whatever, who cares? They were obviously going to FC it. It's their first pick. You lose that, it doesn't really matter. If you lose your first pick, it's way more. I lost,
Okay,
it
so you're
was more
talking
your
about
first pick, yeah,
okay, so it's like your first pick is the one that you really put a lot of pressure on the line.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that
Sorry, I
actually
should
makes
have mentioned
sense.
that before.
That no, that does make sense. So I'm curious a bit more. So okay, so you did also mention that like the player you're up against does make a difference. Oh, I did want to ask, at what point did you sort of realize that you were a top player?
Oh, I always thought I was complete trash until I was 2 digit. I was like, dude, I'm complete 3 digit piss slow, dude. I've got to get to 2 digit. I because that was how I was back then. It was like if you were a 2 digit, you were a top player, no questions
That's
asked.
true.
And that's how it always has been. You were a top player if you were 2 digit. I think I didn't stay in high 3 digit for long though. I kind of had this race going on where me and I don't know if you know him, the Omi Nomi.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a very old player. He was like a D ranker at the time, and when I was getting better, when I went from 4 digit to 2 digit, I didn't stay in 3 digit for long because he was like the biggest Smurf I'd ever seen. He was so much better than what his rank was. That was like the first D ranker I ever met, but I tried to outrank race the D ranker. So he was always a step ahead, and I was always playing catch up to catch up to his rank and improve. But that's probably one of the best things that drove me to um, get to a top player is the Omi Nomi because he went to like 1K to three rank 300 so fast, and I was playing catch up the whole time. That like once I did pass him, I was like, dude, what's stopping me now, dude? All these maps are the same. All these farm maps are the exact same at this point. So it, it's I don't know. Once I got to 2 digit, it's rank 300 to 100. Although you can take it slow, it's all the same maps. It's all the same maps from that point. So
That's
if you're
actually true.
good, it's something. you can push it all the way to being one of the best in the world. It's just how much you play and mindset. So
How important do you feel like it was to have that sort of community or like group of friends that you really competed with and kind of bantered with as well throughout your OC career?
yeah, super. I think it was super important for me. Although the first like year I didn't communicate with the community at all. I just played. Um, getting improving further, you need the people to bounce maps off, because there's players these days have such an advantage because there's a map for everything. There's so many maps out there these days that if you want to get good at something, there will be the maps and the means to get good at that specific skill or play in general. You know, they've
Yeah.
got every tool necessary to get better. So it's all up to them and finding those maps and finding, you know, that niche that opens the doors for you to get better at skill sets. You know, so I think community involvement. I disagree with watching Twitch streams. I think Twitch streams are trolling. Because
Oh,
you watch someone better than you, and don't play. If it's time you spent watching instead of playing. Because OSU's like, you can watch League of Legends and watch them and how they play, and it's like, oh, kind of take notes with that. But OSU, you're just kind of watching them play. Um, and although you can kind of take notes and like, oh, his grip is different, or his tablet area is fucking humongous. There's not really much you can take from Twitch streams
right,
in regards to versing actually playing the game more. That
right.
was one of the things I never did is watch Twitch. But having a community to bounce maps off and play in multis, I think multis is amazing. Playing in multis is phenomenal for expanding that variety, finding new maps. Um, and going off that, finding mappers, finding I don't know, stuff like that.
Yep. I
You
think going to
feel?
people's favorites is also a really good place to find maps.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, having people recommend maps and be like, dude, this map is fucking broken. It just got released. Sotark's just released the most broken best friends, and it's like, oh, dude, let me get on that, dude. You can miss stuff like that so easily if you're not checking OSU Direct every day. You're not, and it's that we're at a point in the game where there's so many ranked maps that are
Yeah.
so old that you kind of need the help to find all these maps. You need to go through all these top players to find these old DT maps that people farmed back in the day to really get those skills up, instead of um, what I see a lot of top players or new players playing these days, which is just the same no mod 1-2 map.
Oh
That
no.
that
Oh no.
my brother started playing. He started playing when I did, but never really played. But he started really playing um, recently, where he's every time he's at that point in the game where he started to he'd always RB, like he'd always get a top play whenever he jumped on and played actively,
Ah.
which is the most motivating. Getting to that point is the most motivating part, where you jump on, always set a top play, um, and stuff like that. But he only plays the same fucking maps. They're all just the Sotarks Reform 1-2 maps, with like triples and maybe one 5-note burst. I'm like, dude, Jarrett, you are complete garbage. You need you need to play some more. As a bro, I'm not buying supporter, and it's I don't know. I think support is pretty important. I think you gotta make that commitment to fight, to being able to search up a mapper, search up um, diff names, search up what else can you search up, like tag stars over
Yeah,
5 under 5. There's so many websites nowadays as well where you can see um,
that's true. OSU
what's
Collector is a
what are the
big one.
most, yeah, exactly, stuff like that. But yeah.
Do you I mean, I'm curious, what would you fix about, I guess, the system or anything like that to sort of get people to
Ooh.
realize that like there's more to the game, so to speak?
Fuck. That's tough. That's a really good question. Something a proper developer could think of instantly. But I'm not sure. Maybe it's Tillerino is amazing. Tillerino is one of the best things that's ever been introduced to the game, in my opinion, because it auto sets your range of stuff, and even though it's mostly farm maps, um, it'll always give you some bullshit that you can't play at all, and you'll be like, oh, dude. Why is it? I remember I always got recommended like Gimme Chocolate. I get so mad because it was just a 220 B. It was a good map, but it was a 220 BPM stream map right in the middle of the map. Like, dude,
Yeah.
I obviously can't play this at all. Um, there's probably something there though. There's probably some better iteration of Tillerino that someone could make where they not only it picks like random 5-digit profiles from not only 2022 but from like 2015 that they have the same numbers of top plays, the same PP value of all their top plays, but the maps are obviously going to be completely different. Um, Maybe that's a cool idea or something, but
That
I'm,
sounds
I'm not
really
sure what you
cool.
could actually do.
No, I'm sure you definitely
Yeah,
could, and even like a Tillerino for like maps other than getting top plays, but like recommending based
yeah,
on your difficulty.
yeah.
That
Because that's
sounds big
all I
brain.
played was Tillerino maps, dude. Once I discovered Tillerino and stopped googling like uh 200 pp farm, 150 pp farm. I remember doing that. But
Oh
once
wait, me
once I was
too.
introduced to Tillerino, yeah,
Oh my god.
that was because I didn't know about Tilly. I had no idea about Tilly, and I was just doing that. I was like, man, I feel like I'm good enough to get a higher rank, but I don't know how to get the maps. There's some means there. There's some means of a universal Tillerino that not only gives you farm, but gives you what you're after. But if there's like a um, Yosei Teikoku for like 210, 220 BPM low AR hidden. If that's what you want to play. It's hard to find maps like that. You'll have like two in your collection that you'll want to play, and then be like, dude, I need more maps like these.
All right.
Who's gonna bother to find it? There's something where something a more specific Tillerino would be really awesome for new players and stuff like that. I think nowadays.
Is that one of the motivations that you had for making your own maps?
Making my own maps. Um, Look, I wouldn't call myself a mapper at all. Um, what do you mean by making your own maps?
You made your own. You got some aim maps in there. You got Crazy Night.
Yeah, I'm not a mapper at all though. They were literally just like me trolling. That was the era of Grand Senpai. Um, when his first, he's a really good mapper now. He's nuts. And I think a lot of the community knows Grand Senpai now, which is awesome.
He's like
But
modern Arliss,
when
I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. When he started out, it was me and him in a call in Discord, taking these maps. His first aim map was responsibility response, where I was sitting in the VC with him, and I was like, dude, that needs to be way bigger. And he made this monstrosity of an aim map that was like AR 9.2. It was dog shit. But we do it every day where we were just sitting and it's like, dude, I just found the most fucked song. And it's like 160 BPM, bro. And I'm like, dude, that is money. And he'd map it, and I was the only one that would be able to play it. Like he literally would just map with me in mind, and at that point, I was like, "Oh, absolutely, I'm gonna I'm gonna map as well, dude." And he's like, "Yes," and that's why I mapped Gluten Ica after he made that was the best phase. He made Rebellion, and I made Gluten Ica. Those came out at like the same time.
Oh,
Um, but he mapped all his maps with me in mind, which is I think what really stepped me up at when he started mapping is when my aim for full screens. I became more of a full screen known player instead of a hidden hard rock kind of large aim player because he made all those maps and those were the only maps I was playing because that was really fun. So, but Crazy Night in particular was the original. I don't know what year it was. The original Crazy Night. What Do you know that map?
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah,
was
I
in like
do.
a million tournaments.
Was it like the
Um,
Val? Was it map by Val? Oh, no, no, no.
oh,
This map's from 2013. Is that the
yeah,
one?
yeah. 2013. That's definitely the one. If it's got her, it's got Miku like sitting down
Yeah, yeah,
on a
yeah.
chair or something
Map
in
by
it.
Seffi Burrow.
I have. I'm gonna find the note. Because I had the biggest mind block
Oh,
on
no.
that map on a slider. It was a slider that was like it was just a normal. Think of like a normal line slider that went back and forth. It had a bump up the top with the slider tick, and then went back down to the side, then
Ah,
went back up and back. It was like maybe I reckon I can get the exact combo.
okay.
I want to say it was at like 890 combo or something. But I have 1 million replays of me somehow missing that slider tick. Um, oh no, it's where is it? Yeah, it's a 900 combo exactly. Actually, I was close. Um, but my crazy night map was just aim and all of that slider. It was just a million of those sliders. It was just a troll map. And I remember listening to it at once and hearing the end of the map and be like, this would make the most fucked aim map right at this ending chorus. And I was so excited to map that end that I speed ran the first like 3 minutes of the map just to get there. Like all my effort was just into that map because I was so excited to map the end. And I think that's how Tyler maps and how or Grand Senpai maps now is he hears the song and it goes so hard in one section. It goes so nuts that like there's only one way to map that, and it's full screens. And he sees that, and he does it. You know, he just has to build the map up to that point, and um, kind of just make that completely fucked. But a lot of his maps now are just are just all the whole song is just completely fucked. So he really performed. He was the motivator there. I would have never mapped without him mapping aim maps for me. You know.
When you play cross screen jumps, where exactly are you keeping your eyes, or like where are you focusing? Are you looking at each individual note, or are you kind of looking in the middle, or is there a certain way that you read those patterns with like really cross screen jumps?
Yeah, awesome question because that's a great. A lot of people struggle on reading that. I read the ones. Like cross screen jump maps are a lot of 1-2s. And I don't particularly like that. I like 1-2-3s or 1-2-3-4s, but I'll always focus on the one. My eyes will be directly at the one, and then I'll see the two. You see all the notes on your screen at once, but I'll focus on being in the center of the one and then trusting my area and trusting the 5 years I've played on my area to know the distance from that one to the next node. Or if it was like a
Ah,
triangle, I would know I would have faith that I'd get to the one because all the problem was getting to the one. If I was on the one, um, I
like
could kind of
like everything's relative.
since everything is relative to the one. You see a triangle or you see a star after the one. You start on the one and then draw the star you've drawn a million times.
Right.
That's how I read full screens. I think
Oh, that's smart actually. Wow.
always the one.
Someone asked, what should the hidden multiplier be?
Oh, don't get me started on PP right now, dude. Don't get me started. Okay. I think my general opinion on hidden is that it is harder than no mod. But hidden players will play way more hidden than no mod. That they get better at hidden than no mod. I think it's harder to get better at hidden than no mod, and it takes more time. So I think the multiplier should. It's not. I don't think it's a preference mod. I don't think it's a preference mod. I think it takes time to figure out hidden. Um, so I think maybe I don't think it should be way more. I don't think it should be more than hard rock. But it should be more than no mod, absolutely. Because yeah, it is harder. Hidden is at the end of the day, it's always going to be harder to aim hidden, like hidden full screens when you can't see the note compared to no mod full screens when you can't see the note. Even if it's AR10, it's still not there when you have to get it, you know? So yeah, probably less than what Hard Rock is because Hard Rock's fucked. But definitely more than no mod. I think I wouldn't give you a definitive number, but that's my opinion on Hidden.
I'm curious about Hard Rock actually. What advice do you have for breaking into Hard Rock, both the AR10 and the
Oh
OD10 aspect of it? I feel like it's one of the most overwhelming things for a lot of players. Did you have
yeah.
any advice breaking into that mod?
Oh, I think I'm a bad person to ask for that because I my general opinion on Hard Rock because I fucking hate playing Hard Rock without Hidden. I would always just play Hard Rock with Hidden on, and then it was just Hidden with smaller circles. That's all it was. You know, it's just Hidden with smaller circles. Because I had a lot of trouble breaking into Hard Rock as well. Um, because yeah, it's AR10, OD10. Your tapping needs to be so on time. You need to be reacting to the notes. Um, so I still struggle with Hard Rock without Hidden to this day because of the AR and um, all that stuff. But and the AC as well. I've never really been that great. I've just been really good at Hidden. That it's kind of nullified uh, how hard Hard Rock is, and I think that's why I always underperformed in Hard Rock in tournaments because I'd practice it with Hidden Hard Rock. It was just Hidden with a smaller with
No.
smaller circles, you know.
So it sounds like when you play hidden, like the AR just doesn't really make a difference to you.
Um, up to a certain point, of course. I think AR10 Hidden is way easier than AR9 Hidden. You know,
Right.
it's kind of one of those weird things where Hidden is easier where the higher they are, but it's so hard to break into Hard Rock because compared to No Mod, Hard Rock is way higher AR. So it's weird. It's very I think it's very different um, with Hidden and without Hidden. 'Cause there's so many players that can play Hidden Hard Rock only that it makes sense for them to be able to play Hidden Hard Rock, but they just can't because it's it's not the same. It's not quite the same as reading Hard Rock on AR10. I find it's the higher the AR on Hidden, the easier it is. Same like that's why all the DT players can play DT Hidden. You know. Um, but breaking into Hard Rock, I think. What's good advice? How did I get better at Hard Rock? I don't know. I think I'm a bad person to ask because I got better at Hard Rock with Hidden on.
No, I
Um,
mean, I think I'm sort of asking like even hidden hard rock does count, like just kind of using the hard rock mod in general, even if it is with hidden.
yeah. Well. Okay. At the end of the day, Hard Rock. Once you're not really struggling to read it, or once you're not struggling to, you know, tap it, because it's accuracy. It's just playing more for accuracy. You know, you're
Right.
either an act player or you're not. You either prioritize getting to the note and tapping it, even if it's a little late, or you prioritize tapping exactly when the rhythm of the song hits. And if that means you're getting to the note too late or too early, um, you miss.
Right.
Some people are act players, some people are, combo players. And I've always been a combo player, so it's never really mattered for accuracy for me. And once accuracy doesn't matter, and you play more of it, you're going to slowly get better at it. But um, once once accuracy doesn't matter on Hard Rock, it's just aim. At the end of the day, Hard Rock is just smaller circles. You get better at your area. You're going to get better at being more accurate and snapping to a certain point on your tablet.
Uh, on a similar topic, then talking about reading, I guess in general, what advice do you have? Because you seem like you were someone who kind of had to learn to read with approach circles instead of the other way around. Do you have advice for people that feel super like hidden pilled and they want to start learning to read without it?
What learning without hidden? If you're a hidden plate one
Right.
trick.
Yeah. Because I'm sure
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
something you had to go through, especially with tournaments.
yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I thought the frustration was always, it sucks because if you know you're better at hidden, um, you're always just going to play worse, and that's one of the things that sucks. If you have to remove something that makes the game more fun, it's always that mental block, that mental burden that sucks. Um, but it's always, for me, what I found was warming up with hidden. Warming up without hidden, I'd play hidden way worse on the day, but I'd play nomad way better. If you don't even consider playing with hidden on the day, like if you're a hidden only player, um, you play without hidden, to warm up and stuff like that. It kind of it kind of works better on the eyes once you warmed up with approach circles in your face. Um, it's removing the mod altogether. I think if you're going to get better without hidden, you've got to just not play with hidden on at all. You've got to
Ah,
completely like remove that from the game, because if it's like you improve at something and then you just go back to what's comfortable, and you kind of lose that rhythm in your reading that you've been practicing for days. You go a whole day playing nothing but hidden again, and then you'll go back to nomad and it'll be complete dog shit again. Um, so it's like I find it's like a toggle, um, where I'd have to go a whole week if I was committing to getting my nomad back in action. I just wouldn't play hidden ever. You can't. You literally can't, because it's going back to what's comfortable. You lose that edge. Um,
that's
I feel. I
interesting.
don't. I don't know if that's very good advice, but um, that's kind of how it works for me. It's you got to sack. You got to sack being. You'll always, if you're a hidden one trick, you'll always get better at hidden way faster than you'll get better at nomad. So it's all about removing hidden entirely from the equation and forcing. Even on warm up, you just can't play with it. You can't afford to, because it's playing with hidden a couple times or a couple maps per session is just going to stunt that progress you made for nomad.
Right. I think that sort of like incorporating it into your warm up is actually really interesting. Someone
Yeah.
asked, someone asked, I wonder if that same mindset applies to other mods like Hard Rock and DT. Do you think that same sort of principle of just like slapping it on and kind of never taking it off is like, it kind of works the
Oh.
same for the other mods?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I think hard rock for sure. I don't know about DT. DT is a completely different beast on its own. I think DT is just fucked. Um, because it's all about relativity. You look at these mods like they're a completely different thing when they're not. Oh, no mod, DT and hard rock are all the same thing. Hidden is the only that's why I always find it interesting that players just can't play hidden at all, but they can always play hard rock and DT. Like they're always just freaks. Um, except for DT hidden, because it's not quite the same on like 10.3 and stuff, but um, DT, Hard Rock, and Nomad are all just the same thing with different ARs and different speed. It's DT is a left hand problem, not a reading problem.
All right, that's fair. So, speaking of that, I'm curious. Actually, let's see. I'm uh, so do you have advice on like, sorry, like pushing lower ARs specifically? Because I think it seemed like something that came kind of naturally to you, but especially with
Oh,
hidden. But do you have advice for like really pushing lower ARs as well?
oh, dude, I'm so I can't play easy at all, bro. I literally can't play easy because there's just approach circles on my screen. I don't read by approach circles at all, dude. 'Cause I'm a hidden player, so I'll just never be able to play easy. It's fucked. Um, But yeah, I think lower AR in regards to hidden, it's all. I don't know what advice I give to that, because I'm definitely not a great ARA hidden player. I just enjoy playing it.
Oh, okay.
And like there's low AR freaks. I think the low AR no mod player is always, um, they try hidden for a day on these low AR maps, and they're just going to be fucked as well. Um, because it's the same map just without the approach circles. It's all memory. No, it's not all memory. That's terrible. Don't. Don't quote me on that, but I
Right.
don't know. Low AR hidden is it's all rhythm. It's all rhythm based. You stay on the map's timing, and eventually you'll stop going way too fast from note to note. You'll stop um, going way too slow on streams. Oh, low AR hidden aim, I think, is all practice. Low AR hidden streams is fucked, dude. Low AR hidden streams are completely fucked.
I
Um,
remember hearing, so like me and there's a player named Tony from United States. Hirak
yeah,
was his name back in like 2018, but he also said the same thing where like low AR, especially easy hidden, but hidden low AR streams, it's like you actually want to try intentionally under aiming or like pretend that you're under aiming because like those streams, you really can't actually under aim them because they're so slow and you're so tempted to
yeah,
speed up that like if you actually try to intentionally aim too slow, then that you actually going to end up aiming correctly.
yeah, exactly. It's weird because if you play only AR8 hidden streams, you'll play so much of them that you kind of figure out that spot where you need to be that's not on the notes.
Right.
You know, I guess
No,
where it's
that's
it's
definitely true.
always way further back than you think. Exactly right what you were saying, but low AR hidden aim is or it's kind of the same thing where you need to delay so much, and you'll always need to delay. Sorry about that. Delaying more than you think, you know.
Yeah, I think you emphasizing the rhythm aspect of it is actually really important because I think staying on beat is something that's just so underrated when it comes to lower ARs.
Yeah, you can't rush those things. You can't rush or afford to. Like being an ACK player on something like that will always be nuts because you'll even if you can't read the map well, you stay on rhythm and you're still going to get high ACK, and that's something that's really valuable on AR8 hiddens because if you don't play by ACK on the AR8 hiddens, it's you'll always just get like a low like AR fucking 88%, and that's and you're not going to combo it because it's AR8 hidden and it's arse, you know. So
All right.
it's all rhythm, I think.
So we talked a bit about warm up earlier, especially with kind of incorporating like hidden if you're trying to get better at it or vice versa. But for you specifically, how do you usually warm up before a session? Is there any like specific routine that you follow or anything like that?
Ooh, uh, I'd say a very loose regime. You know, I think since I'm such a bad finger control player, I'll always play like a couple of 160 BPM maps. You know, I don't like to strain myself because of my hand recently these days, but um you kind of tailor your warm up to what you want to play that session. I always play. I want to make sure I can somewhat stream that session. I want to make sure I can somewhat you know play doubles and all that shit um, in the middle of my hidden because what I play is hidden hard rock aim, and in all the hidden hard rock aim farm maps, there's always some bullshit stream, always some bullshit 1/3 part that I've got to actually be able to play, and so I'll always start off the session with the harder parts of those basic aim maps that I always play. I always start with like trying to control my fingers on a 160 BPM, 150 BPM alt map, and I'll always feed it, or I'll play it really well because I'm not warm and I can since I have no finger control, I just play I just play to the speed I can. So I always found that whenever I took a break, I'd come back and I'd be a freak at alt maps because my top streaming speed was way slower. So
Oh,
I had the finger control. I didn't have the finger control, but I had the max. Me streaming my max was these slow BPMs, so I could just play these low BPM stream maps and then get into my aim collection. Get into the juice of the session. But it was never. I never played what I really um, was the best at first. I'd always play what I was, what I was gonna run into in the session, but not what I
ah,
was gonna focus on in the session. Because the aim came naturally. I was very good at aim already, so I've focused on, while I'm not warm, getting all this garbage out of the way that I don't want to play.
That's actually really smart, actually. So,
Thanks. I see all yours all the time, and you're playing fucking like 2-star maps, and I was like, dude, what is this cunt playing? I just rock up to your stream and like, why is he playing a 2-star map to warm up? And I always talk to Tyler, and I was like, dude, it's genius. I've started doing that as well, and it actually works. I'm like, how?
oh,
Like, how did that work for you? How did that work? I never understood that, because you played like um there was that you played on stream a lot. Those you played stream maps. You played 2-star maps to start off FCing. I
oh,
liked that idea where you'd play a 2-star map and just always FC it, like, because I think FCing is very important for the mindset. But
right.
uh, yeah, how did you do that? Because
Oh,
I never understood that.
oh, like why I start my stress
Yeah,
sessions with like
yeah.
super low. So, what I'm trying to do when I play this, because I'm not just playing the map, um, I'm basically trying to focus on landing in the exact middle of every object and like keeping my cursor super, super stable.
Oh,
So it's not really just about playing the map. It's about playing it and literally focusing entirely
playing it
on,
properly.
yeah, aiming properly. Obviously you're acking each note, but it's really about like you try to stay in the middle of each slider ball also. Like those maps are so slow. It's like there's nothing else to focus on, but it's like you can use it to
Yeah, okay.
kind of get yourself calibrated and get that aim stability and focus. I think focus is one of those things that's like kind of hard to warm up specifically on most maps. So I found that
Yeah,
like
okay.
because the way it started is I would always like to every now and then I just like go through entire map sets from like the bottom diff to the top just because that's what I had fun doing when I played casually. So every now and then I'd play through. Okay, there was one specific day where I was just like I was so tired, and I was like just kind of playing OC casually. And there's this one like old map set that had like really weird rhythm, but it was basically a low star map set, and I just played each diff from the bottom to assess it. And by the time it was like a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, and by the time I got to the top diff, I was like so I don't know what happened, but I was so warm, and I set like my best. I don't know if you know Tits or GTFO, that like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
map.
yeah, yeah. I know
I
that.
got 99 S rank on that map that same
Oh, you're a
day.
psycho.
It was like by far my best. Like my tapping was way better than it had ever been. I was like, what the heck just
What?
happened?
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
So ever since then,
That's so cool.
yeah, that was I was like, dude, this works like crazy. What the heck? So
Yeah.
that's when like I started sort of starting my sessions with like lower stars, and it helped me feel really calibrated. So yeah, that's
Bro,
the story there.
I loved those. I love those sessions where you're so tired. I would always do that as well, where I'd jump on tired and just play like only AR8 hidden, because I'm obviously not going to play like batshit, aim
Yeah,
maps when I'm this tired. I'll just jump on and play AR8 hidden. And if you jump on and only play AR8 hidden, you're going to play AR8 hidden,
yeah,
pretty well at least, even if you're tired by the end of the session.
that's
Same with
true.
people that jump on and only play like easy because they're not
Oh,
going to play well at all. If
yep,
you've had 2 hours of sleep, I'm just going to play fucking easy because my brain is that slow.
yeah,
And you'll get better. You will get better at it because it's playing more. It's just playing the game, and play the game. You will improve every single time. It's how you utilize that. So I think that's awesome that you just did that,
yeah,
going up map sets.
yeah. I think
And
that's also something that helps with like people who I guess like struggle with consistency on lower stars. It's like trying to work on just playing every star rating and kind of see
yeah,
if you can refine your gameplay around that range.
yeah, that's awesome. Probably only like one or two more questions. I got to go back to work.
Okay. Okay.
Pretty shortly. So this has ran for like an hour and a half, which is like I didn't even see that go by, which is crazy. Um,
All right, then
but
I'll
yeah, I'll just fucking
ask
keep talking.
what is your favorite thing about OSU?
Oh, that's a good question. Favorite thing about Osu? Oh, there's a lot of things I fucking hate about this game, but
Hey, what do you
um,
hate then also?
I hate how much you need to warm up to play good. I hate how much you have to fucking um how much you have to play to get good and all that stuff. But my favorite part of OSU for sure is improving. Improving is so fun in this game compared to every other game because you'll see you actively watch every session as you start to get better at these maps, map by map. Um, you play the same maps every day in your collections, and if you're starting off in the game, the best period of time to play OSU is when you're farming these 100 PP maps and you're getting better every single time, every single day. You just improve, and it's not like League of Legends or what's another good
Like
game?
Valorant, any other team game,
Valorant,
basically.
shooters, yeah,
Yep.
shooters and stuff where it's kind of harder to gauge um, how great you're going and how much you're actually improving in those games because you're still dying. Like you make great shots and stuff, and you have pop off moments. But those
Right.
two, you watch yourself get better every session, and it kind of slows down at the top level, which is why it's so much harder to have fun playing the game so much more because at some point in OSU where you stop improving every day and they kind of come in bursts. It's really weird. The improvement in OSU kind of comes in bursts where you have to grind for like months and months or weeks and weeks where you're playing all right, you're playing to your level, but then out of nowhere you'll just have this ridiculous pop off session, and then for the next week you're just playing like a god, playing way better than you ever have before, playing all these maps. You're starting to FC all these maps, and it's moments like those in OSU that I love so much because getting nervous, getting nervous in OSU and then performing by the end of the map,
Yeah.
um, the improvement in OSU and improving at getting nervous. Getting nervous is another thing I think is one of my favorite things. Getting nervous and improving because it's hard to get put in those high pressure scenarios in other games, but in OSU where you can actively see that you're about to set your best play in the game is awesome because you'll be nervous and you're like, oh, I'm about to fuck it bad, dude. I'm about to not close this bitch up at all. And then when you do it, it's like, I'm a fucking freak, dude. I'm all about that, dude. That's me. It's that stuff. It's awesome. That's why I love those. I love those two so much.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
if I had to add one more thing, is I think the community is so unique in this game compared to any other. Whereas like most other games is like you hop in queue, you play with random people, and like you just kind of move on. But in this game, it's like everyone knows each other, and everyone's kind of like keeping up with each other, and
Yeah,
especially like towards the top, especially like within each country. Australia is one of those countries that's like really tight knit with its community. So
yeah. It's very competitive. It's awesome. It's very competitive at the top end of Australia, and it's same with in the world. You always check your when you on your page of like your rank. OSU's got the pages where you can see all the players around you, and you
yeah,
kind of always just go and when I was improving a lot, I always just check their top players. I check everyone around me and how well they're doing, not only in the country but in the world. And when you see those names pop up on leaderboards, it's like, oh, dude, this guy's a freak. What? How did he do that? And then the name starts to pop up more and more.
yeah.
I remember when I just started out playing OSU, and I didn't check leaderboards. No, I did check leaderboards. I didn't check top players and stuff. I had no idea because I didn't have internet. When I got internet at the end, I would always see the same names on all the global leaderboards,
Oh yeah,
and
me
I'd be like,
too.
dude, this guy's a freak. Who is this? What? I'm gonna check his profile. I remember the first person I did that with was HVic225 because I always see him on every leaderboard. And I checked, and he was just number one in the world when I checked. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, dude. What? And it started doing that with so many more players that were all 2 digits and 3 digits, and then seeing him in the country, yeah, it's awesome. The
That's crazy.
community, a lot of the community, it's really cool. It's really cool keeping in check with everyone around you, seeing that they're not getting to the same place you are with the same plays. It's so diverse that they can literally get to the exact same PP and same rank as you with not a single same play. It's
Oh yeah.
awesome.
Dang, that's a good point. But Yeah, I do appreciate you taking all this time between work shifts.
Yeah,
So
dude, my
pleased.
pleasure, man. That was awesome. That was so fun.
Yeah,
I feel like I just talked complete bullshit the whole time, but I love talking bullshit. So that was fun.
uh,
I just
let's
heard my
go.
brother scream from the other room, so I think he just choked a top play on OSU at this exact time. I can't wait to check that, which is pretty funny. But
Oh my
dude,
god.
thank you for inviting me for this. That was dope.
Yeah,
It's good to chat to you again, obviously.
yeah.
Um,
Yep. Thanks again for doing this and everyone for listening. And we will see you all next time.
yes, take it easy, my friends. I hope that was valuable. Um, enjoy the advice.